My name is Magistra Y. I'm non-binary and I am a high school teacher. So today I thought I'd tell you a little bit about what I've done and what my school has done to make me feel comfortable out as non-binary at my school. The first thing is really easy. I wear a pronoun pin every day. This works as a visual cue for my students. When I introduced myself to my students, I also gave them some example sentences for those students who weren't as familiar with using they, them pronouns. So I told them, you could say, oh, I have Magistra Y's class next. They teach Latin. I wanted to have a few visual cues in my classroom to show students that it is a welcoming and inclusive place. So one of the things I did was I put a pride flag on my desk. I'll take a pause here and say I am very, very lucky to teach at the school I teach at. They are very openly devoted to diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Those are some of the things that I've done, but what about my school? I use the title Magistra instead of Mr. or Miss, and the IT team actually managed to code it into the system, so anytime my name pops up, it comes up with Magistra Y instead of Mr. or Miss. Had a lot of colleagues ask me really insightful questions about my gender and my pronouns and my experience, and in general, they have created a really welcoming environment. And I don't think they did this on purpose, but my classroom is right next to the gender-neutral bathroom.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is, what did we call this again? Dating?
Oh, yeah, dating. Paulina Porizkova?
Yes. Ex-supermodel Paulina Porizkova, and hates the one reason she can't get a date. Hates this one reason at 56. And
hates this one reason she can't get a date at 56. My God, clickbait is like a real a tongue twister. I wonder why it's so popular. Well, anyway.
I don't know. Well, I don't think that our clickbait is clickbaity enough, because if we really wanted to do clickbait, we'd be latching on to all kinds of, online drama and just basically like it's really scummy stuff. I don't like it personally. But I mean, we do try to entice, and I think that, look, the way I see it, the way I see it, this Paulina Porizkova story is a teachable moment, women and men. And I think it gives you a look at, like, essentially the life of a female incel is essentially what this is. Except that when you're a female incel that was famous once, you get interviewed for the Sunday Times and you have a blue check mark on Twitter, and you can basically be an absolute bitch to everyone that doesn't like just shower you with unsolicited praise. And even if people do give you some praise, you're still allowed to be shit to them as well, which does happen. So, I think it's a teachable moment. It's a really interesting way of looking at the way that we see, I guess you could say, men's the way that we view low sexual market value men versus low sexual market value women. And because she sounds like she is, I don't think she is, but she believes that she is. That she has like lower sexual market value.
Well, no, what she has is lower sexual market value than she had, and then what she wants, because she used to be like the top 1%, right? Probably even higher. So she was basically a sexual value. Now she's not. And I think it's the contrast between the sexual value she has and the sexual value she wants, or she had, and the sexual value she wants and the sexual value she has, that makes her say, I'm not getting what I want out of this anymore, and complain, which, Even now, she has significantly more sexual value than a woman like myself, right? So, but it's not that she's unattractive or couldn't get a sexual partner or even a long-term mate. She could get any of that.
Yeah.
She could get it 10 times over. She could probably have 10 husbands if she wanted. But what's stopping her is the fact that she wants too much. She wants to be able to have the same leverage she had 30 years ago, and she doesn't. Simple as that. So in this case, a female incel isn't constructed by factors that are out of her control. She's not unattractive. She doesn't have body odor despite her hygiene regime, which can happen. There are people who are very careful about their hygiene, but they smell because they just have a very strong scent. And she doesn't have that. She's not ugly. She's not overweight based on some
deformed.
sort of. She's not overweight based either on depression, anxiety, previous abuse, or possibly genetic factors. I mean, and she likely hasn't been sexually abused, so she doesn't have any of the reasons that male incels often have for why they're incels. Oh, and also she's white. So she's not like a majority or a sizable minority of incels, the wrong race, as in not white. So she's got everything going for her. Everything. Unlike male incels, who usually have something that they don't have control over, as much as we want to yell at them and say, oh, just get better, scrub. Get good, scrub. She has everything going for her, except for, doesn't have everything going for her as much as she did 30 years ago. Unlike incels who have things that, outside of their control that are preventing them from being attractive to women. So the real reason why she's an incel, oh, wait, I guess we should say this to the end because it's the reason that she hates.
Yeah, we should be quiet about that for now.
We'll
come back to it. But
we should save the best part for the end.
Yeah.
We reveal the real reason why Miss Impronounceable Name X Supermodel, the reason why she hates that she can't get a date at 56. The real one.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned for that. Oh, and in the meantime, I just want to remind everybody that our content exists because of your kind donations and your generous donations. Without that, we go poof. We fade quietly into the dark night of the soul of Western society. And if you don't want to see that happen, please go to feedthebadger.com, start up a subscription, give you lots of extra content. We'll also give you access to our Patreon Discord where you can hang out with us and other people who enjoy this kind of content. Or you can do one-time support options. Biggest and most important of which is our monthly fundraiser, which is at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz and goes towards Brian, Prim, and Hannah's work for the month. So please do that. So we can continue to bring you this content, which is frankly unique.
Yep. Okay, so I did get a super chat from ST007 who gives us $2 Australian and says, and I think he's trying to help us pronounce her name. I don't know why you guys waste your time. Paulina Porizkova. So the Z is a Z sound. Porizkova. Get it right, Badgers. Well, thank you, ST007. I will put as much effort into pronouncing her name as she would have to say hello to me.
Okay.
So,
plus there's several versions of how to pronounce her name. This one is Porizkova. Maybe that's closer. Not Porizkova.
Porizkova. Yeah. That's what he's saying. But whatever.
Russian's like a language.
We're just gonna call her Paulina, and then just leave it at that. So the article was tweeted out. There was a link to it sent out by the Sunday Times. And Paulina had also, because she wanted to share it on her social media, had tweeted this out. And the response to it was the reason why I thought this was interesting, especially considering her age. So the article's title, and I think this is actually kind of interesting right off the bat. First of all, it's under a subheading called the age debate. So apparently there is are there multiple articles under the age debate? And what exactly is the age debate? I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say that it's probably focused on women aging, not men aging, women aging. It's probably helping women who are getting older that read websites like this or magazines like this, and maybe they're alone or they're trying to cope with the fact that they're not as young as they used to be or whatever it is. And I think this is an ongoing thing that seems to exist to help women feel better about the fact that they're getting older and that they're kind of miserable. For the ones that are, I mean, there are probably plenty of happy older women who, you know, their kids are doing well, maybe they have grandkids and they're totally like thrilled, but those people don't usually read stuff like this. So all right, and the title of the article is Paulina Porizkova, the supermodel who dared to look her age. She dared to do this. Go ahead.
Okay, I've seen pictures of her. First of all, she is very well aged, 56, which I'm guessing you can possibly attribute to the fact that she likely has hired help feeding her exactly, you know, what she should be fed, and you know, like
she can afford to go to the gym and, like, you know,
yeah, it's probably
or she
a lot
has a gym.
It's probably a lot easier to eat keto when you have a team of chefs that can make that shit taste good, you know, and every meal is delicious and yet also nutritionally balanced. So she's afforded all of this, everything, every de-aging procedure that wealth can buy, including probably infusions of stem cells. So she doesn't actually look her age, because I've seen women who are 56 without
absolutely,
of incredible wealth or superb genetics. So she didn't look her age. So this is nonsense. In fact, I don't know why we have to shed a tear over a rich ex supermodel who's saying, "Oh, I'm just not as beautiful as I was." Yeah, who cares, darling? And when you're 2 weeks in the grave, you're going to be even less beautiful than you are now. Like what? Why do we have to? Why is it that we're stopping and even looking at this? You know, and why is no one calling? Okay, I'm sorry. Scipio seems to be make commentary as well.
I think he's getting excited because you're getting excited. The dogs can feel the energy.
They can feel it.
They can.
They want to express themselves.
Now, if I raise my voice, which I have done on the show sometimes, and I apologize for that, Jojo usually like slinks away and like hides by Lindsay because he thinks I'm yelling at him, even though I don't yell at Jojo usually. But they can feel the energy, so Jojo starts becoming scared if I raise my voice.
Yeah, actually, I think my German Shepherd is barking out at the window closest to the other German Shepherd. That's our neighbor's German Shepherd. So, you know, they have occasional conversations in the morning. Like he'll like sit there and brace and bark, you know, like 10, 12 barks. And then the other one will bark back at him, and then he'll bark. And then for some reason, I don't know what the signal is, he just is like, okay, shrugs, and then turns and walks down the drive. Oh, I guess they're just saying hi. Hi, Mac. Hi, Skip.
Yeah, I think that's usually, if dogs are barking, they're usually trying to say hello.
Yeah.
it comes across as aggressive, but I don't think that's what it is.
Tell the dog next door I say hello.
Yes.
So she doesn't look her age. So the first very bit of this is erroneous.
Yeah, for sure.
You have been afforded the very pinnacle of anti-aging benefit that is granted multimillionaires, and apparently has done nothing for Bill Gates, but whatever.
It's probably true. I wonder how many baby penis parts were used to make her skin look so young.
Yeah, I wonder
How,
as well.
how much? How
Oh,
much
I wonder if
of the
she goes,
foreskin? How many foreskins did it take,
I
Paulina?
wonder if she's got a special deal. She just walks into a neonatal ward and says, "Yeah, give me 12. Give me a dozen. Give me a dozen. I'll just slap them right on my face."
Here, I have this empty egg carton. Just fill it with circumcised, penis parts, please. Give me
Yeah.
foreskins.
Okay,
I don't have
Nico.
any eggs. I'll take these.
Make sure they're organic babies, please. Organic. No
Organic.
GMO babies.
Oh
Those
yeah,
could
we
be
don't want any
hard in this
genetically
generation.
modified babies.
Could be
But
very difficult to find those in a couple years.
I'm gonna show you a photo of her so you guys can see what she looks like. But I'll finish the headline first. So Porizkova was once the world's highest paid model, but as she hit her 50s, she says she was suddenly invisible. Now she's 56. She's leading a new wave of older women taking their place in the spotlight and on the catwalk and flaunting it on Instagram in her bikini. And here is a picture of her. It looks like a nude. I don't really know, but we can't see anything, thank goodness, because that would get us removed from YouTube. But first of all, not many 56-year-old women look like this. So there should be cause to be gracious that you still look this way, that maybe a little bit of pride in your ability to take care of yourself so that you do look like this. But just like what we all said, you have all of these resources and tools that you can use to keep you appearing younger. I mean, she looks like she's in her 40s, based on these pictures. And yet there is still cause to complain because she is not getting the attention that she used to. Okay. Let me read some of the article, but go ahead, Alice. What were you going to say?
Also, she could be grateful for the fact she probably has her health.
I hope so. I mean, this could be shooped. This could be a shooped picture.
Well, it probably is shooped, but everything you see is shooped. So there you go. But she could be thankful for the fact that she's not dying, after surgical complications in a townhouse that she shares with her ex. Grateful for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no, she is not. She's out here complaining about the fact that literally she's complaining that at 56 she isn't as attractive as she was at 26.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course not.
I noticed women most affected.
Have you noticed a slight uptick in articles like this? Like, this is like the best example because of the fight she got into on Twitter that I'll go into in a second. But I've noticed that there is more and more content coming out now that's essentially praising post-wall women. And I wonder I wonder what the reason for that is. Like, it seems like it's just cope, because this is the reason why I find, if I didn't think there was something interesting about this article and what it's about, and then trying to gender swap the people involved. If it weren't for that, I would find this whole thing to be tremendously petty and just oozing with cope and insecurity. Just oozing with it.
Well, but the very premise of it is it's not just cope and insecurity, it's intense entitlement. Like, cope and insecurity are very human. All right, we all want to cope. We all want to, I sit on my couch and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And what will I have done? And then you're like, well, but I could pet my dog, at least I've made him happy. And then you move on. You're like, that's cope and it's insecurity. That's really human. We all have that. What's astounding is the freaking entitlement, because the subtext of all of these articles is that women are owed men's sexual attention, their affection, and even their sexual consent as a matter of course, as in men don't have a right to refuse sexual consent, up to and including their sexual interest in a woman. They don't have a right to say, nah, you know what, you're 56, not interested. You're fat, not interested. You're a bitch, not interested. They don't have the right to do that, much less not have the right to actually to not consent to sex, because that's just another can of worms and female hysteria. when men say no to them sexually. But this idea is based on the concept that women are owed things sexual from men.
Mm-hmm.
And they are not. Like this is like this society believes, and this, because it promotes stuff like this, it believes that men don't have a right to consent to what they desire or what they're expected to desire. And they will use moral contempt, moral denigration, moral bullying, and dehumanization to delegitimate men's right to desire what they desire, up to and including the actual physical act of sex. Now, if I were a believer in rape culture, I would say that is one. But I'm not. I'm not. I mean, seriously,
Okay.
what gender saying you have no right to decide what you desire? You have no right to decide what you consent to sexually? You have no right to refuse my sexual interest. If I have sexual interest in you, you are obligated to have sexual interest in me. That's what this says. Like otherwise it doesn't even make sense, because if, let's say we lived in a world where men have, everybody agrees that men absolutely have a right to desire what they desire, and whatever they desire is perfectly moral. It's perfectly within their right to desire it. Would it make sense for a 56-year-old woman to get on a stage and say, men don't like me as much as they did 30 years ago, and that's their fault?
Yep.
Like, it doesn't make it. It doesn't make it.
Of course, it doesn't.
Doesn't even make sense for a man to do that. Women don't like me as much.
Can you imagine?
Women don't find me as sexually attractive as they did when I was 26, and that's their fault.
I had an
There's something more. There is something morally wrong with women. Something morally degraded about women. I feel the absolute right to bully women emotionally and denigrate them and treat them as subhuman because they don't find a 56-year-old man as attractive as a 26-year-old man with 2% body fat and an 8-pack. Like, incels don't even say this stuff. I shouldn't even say don't even.
Huh. That's why I find this interesting, because if a man was lamenting that, let's say, and he was everything that she is, except that he was male, and maybe he was super hot when he was young and he's gotten old, and he like turned into Val Kilmer, right? Who's basically just, I don't know, he looks like the guy from Dune now, but
he also got cancer, so.
Well, I know, and I'm not making fun of Val Kilmer. I'm saying that, using it as an example, let's say you were like a sexy man when you were young, and then you ceased to be that. But
yeah, like Val Kilmer.
The important thing is, would there have, because Val Kilmer was, would Val Kilmer even, could he have could he complain that he's not getting attention from women like he used to? And not only that, but he would get an article written about it sympathetic to his view. There's no way. That would never happen.
Not only that, but it would be more sympathetic because he's had some real serious health struggles.
Mm-hmm.
She looks like she skated into 50 with nothing. Nothing,
exactly.
Nothing significant. If Val Kilmer actually wrote a story about, I feel completely invisible to women, not just sexually, but as a human being, I think that would actually be deeply sympathetic.
It would, but no one would print it, and no one would have sympathy for it.
And it wouldn't, and I honestly don't think it would come from a place of entitlement, at least not to women's sexual interest, but at least a recognition of their humanity, of his human dignity after everything he's been through. I mean, that would be sympathetic. I don't think people are refusing to recognize this woman's human dignity. She's just decided not to embrace it.
Yeah.
She's just decided that dignity is optional. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the art. Well, it's okay. Let's get in the article itself. Everyone knows that walking into a party beside a supermodel is a terrible idea. But Paulina Porizkova is inviting me to do just that. She has a point to prove. You have to come with me, she insists. Nobody believes me unless they see it. My girlfriends thought I was joking at first. Now they've all witnessed it. What is this party trick of which the 56-year-old Sports Illustrated swimsuit-clad two-time cover star is so proud? What new skill has the once highest paid model in the industry, named by Harper's Bazaar in 1992 as one of America's 10 most beautiful women, added to her repertoire? I am now completely invisible, Porizkova explains. I walk into a party, I try to flirt with guys, and they will just walk away from me mid-sentence to pursue someone 20 years younger. I'm very single. I'm dressed up. I've made an effort. Nothing.
Damn.
Do you hear that? That's the smallest violin in the world.
You know what the only thing I could say is that, when I was young, I'm an ugly woman. Let's just put it out there. I'm not attractive.
No, Allison, stop. Jonathan doesn't believe that for a second.
Yeah,
and I will.
Let
me just say this, because you should point out people's legitimate traits. Don't make shit up. Allison does have dimples. Goes a long way, Allison. Dimples goes a long way. All right, but go ahead.
All right. But anyway, my overall point is not necessarily I know that Jonathan wants to be with me, and that's fine. That's all I need. But when I was young, I was the second fattest girl in my class, and I don't know what happened. I think I do know what happened. Everybody else got fat around me, so now I'm just normal. I'm just normal. That's astounding. I just stayed the same. Everybody else
country's fat. So
yes. So now it's not even remarkable. But regardless, then it was slightly remarkable, and so I felt like crap about myself, like most unattractive teenagers. And and at the same time, this woman was hitting it big with her looks. At about the same time, I was feeling crap by myself. And now she says, I go to a party and I get nothing. I get more than she does now. Just because.
It's true. It's true. You do get more than she does.
That was my overall point. It's like she gets nothing. Well, you did have a husband at one point who you left, and it takes a lot for a guy to not only disown his wife, but the children that he had with that wife. So I don't know what you did there. Sounds like you really fucked up. And well, I mean, he's dead, so you couldn't have ended up with him. But you also chose someone 20 years older.
Yes, she did. And she left him. So in case you guys don't know, Paulina's ex-husband is, oh, God damn it, what's his name? He's a lead singer from The Cars, the band from the 80s, You might think I'm crazy. Well, he probably was. But she dated him, or she was married to him. They had 2 kids together, and he died, I think, in 2019. And but they had separated, and I don't think they got an official divorce, but I think they just sort of went their separate ways. So she was with that dude. He was 23 years older than her, actually, when they started, dating and got married and whatnot. So she was seeking out, the guy from The Cars. That's probably that's not just the 1% of men. That's the top 1% of the 1% of men. It's way up there, right? Yeah, if you're a rock star. So yeah. Rick Ocasek, thank you. It's Rick Ocasek, yeah. Okay. But anyway.
Somebody says that she snatched the jaws of she snatched defeat from the jaws of she has snatched victimhood from the pinnacle of entitlement. Pinnacle of privilege.
She is a feminist too, by the way. I don't know if just in case you guys want to know, she says it right on her bio. Paulina Porizkova, accidental supermodel. She didn't see it coming. Occasional actress. That's a stretch. She's not a good actress. she won a Razzie Award. So just, current writer, America, you made me a feminist. And for that, I guess we apologize if America actually did that. But yeah, just so you know, this is where her mindset is. So this might have something to do with the fact that she's not really like getting attention from men. I don't know. Not an expert on the human condition, like what men like in women. But we do have the answer to this question. We'll get to it later. All right. Allison, do you want to say anything else?
No, let's get to it.
All right. Well, I did get some more super chats. So thank you guys for the super chats. Duncan Alexander gives us 35 czars and says she left her partner of 28 years with 2 sons in 2018. Yes, thank you. And the guy from the Cars, Rick Ocasek, he basically, and I think it's because he found out he didn't really like her. Towards the end of his life, he actually had her removed from his will along with her kids. That is a little bit telling if you ask me. He is like, I don't want that bitch to get shit even after I'm dead and I shouldn't care. She is not getting any of this money or any of my property. And he took her out of the will and her kids that he had with her out of the will. So I think that's telling. I'm just going to go on a limb and say that that's probably suggesting something.
Oh, somebody says that she quotes Kate Bush in the article. Oh, I'm not going to look forward to that because I'm also.
Who's Kate Bush?
She's a
musician,
like a singer. She actually has some really soulful stuff that she's created. But yeah, and I'm also a fan of her. So I probably will have, of Kate Bush. Yeah, so I might have some annoyance when we get to that part.
Oh yeah. I see it. I'm going to get to it in a second, but thank you for the super chat, Duncan. Meredith G gives us $5 and says, could it be that Porizkova is so used to getting attention for her looks, she has developed not charm or character that would attract attention? I think that is, well, Allison, do you want to say anything to that first?
Just a second. Let me look at the. No, yes, exactly. So, well, that would be part of it. Also she's rich, so she probably doesn't have to develop other types of skills. Also, I think one of the big issues is right in her bio, an accidental supermodel. So your life, the biggest thing you've done in your life is not a result of your own actions and choices. You just fell into it. Like one day you twisted your ankle and just popped into a manhole cover that took you to like the cover of Vogue in a catwalk. Just walking along the street, with your chihuahua, and then just, whoop, oh my God, I'm a supermodel.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. Oh, look, it's a rock star husband.
Wow, I don't know how it happened. This is actually false modesty or humble bragging is probably the way to put it. But it comes across as I don't have the ability to connect my actions to the consequences that I experience in my life.
Yeah.
So I think that might have a huge part to it.
I do think too, Meredith, that I wonder sometimes if when we see a beautiful woman, or if there's a beautiful woman, whether she's a model or whatever, that they get showered with so much praise for their looks that they that we kind of like condition them to become narcissists. And I'm not saying that it's not their fault at the end of the day, but I do wonder if like if people are I don't know, like overly complimentary and they're not looking at the correct traits, because you can be good looking but a piece of shit person. And I think that if somebody thinks they can just skate by on their attractiveness long enough, then maybe they don't find an opportunity to work on their their personality at all. And so I wonder if that doesn't also do some harm, especially to attractive young women, because we have a tendency of just thinking they're better people for some reason. So Amasang gives us $5 and says, I always got this raw, grungy, hard rock vibe from Allison, like the Janis Joplin or Four Non-Blondes type. And then he puts a heart emoji. So there you go, Allison. You have a type, kind of 90s grunge tomboy thing. I don't know if that pleases you, but
It confuses me, but I'll take it.
you're kind of, like salt of the earth, maybe. I don't know if that's a right way to put it, but it means you're super grounded. That's the thing. Okay. ST007 gives us $5 Australian and says the issue is also cultural in Slavistan. Men returning from the war men returning from the war equals selection for hotter women plus feminism implemented at a state level from the 1920s. Well, yeah, she is from the Eastern Bloc. So I don't know if that is, but that's an interesting point, ST007. I was thinking about that too a little bit. I was wondering if her Eastern European heritage had, some effect on that. Because I've noticed that Russian girls who I've met, they can have their head up their ass sometimes, especially when it comes to their looks. Like they culturally in Chicago, I lived in this really close to this Russian Ukrainian neighborhood, and the women there were all attractive, but they were also very shallow. So I don't know. I don't want to make any, paint with broad strokes, but maybe some of you guys have seen this more than me. And then lastly, Paul Grofton gives us $5 and says, we learned from women what they wanted from men by watching them. When we finally got what they wanted, it was the younger women noticing us. So very, very interesting point. Also, think about this too. If you have a choice between a 56-year-old woman like Paulina and a 20-year-old woman that is also like Paulina, let's just say, why would you take the 56-year-old woman? Because, I mean, they both, look, if a 20-year-old girl acts childish, it's kind of expected because she's 20. If a 56-year-old woman acts childish, that's a red flag. Like, that's how I see it. Anyway.
Well, it's no longer particularly attractive.
Yes, exactly. So what does a 56-year-old woman bring to the table other than her looks, which, she has kept up, but always wins. So.
Grace, human understanding, compassion, wisdom. Unself-consciousness, but unself-consciousness is right out the window with this article.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so anyway, back to the article. Some women say it kicks in at 40 years old. Others, when they finally let themselves go gray. Virginia Woolf, who I believe, is that a feminist? I don't know. Virginia Woolf described the phenomenon in Mrs. Dalloway in 1925, aged 43. In 2005, 47-year-old Kate Bush summed it up in How to Be Invisible with the lyrics, hem of anorak, stem of wallflower, hair of doormat. So I guess Kate Bush wrote about the fact that she was getting older in a song. The actress... Oh, go ahead, Allison.
Okay, could you do the quote again? Let me just think about that.
Yeah. Hem of anorak, or anorak, A-N-O-R-A-K. I don't know what that word is.
Is that an interpretation of the lyrics?
Well, what are the lyrics? Let me see.
What's the song called?
I'm gonna look it up. It's called How to Be Invisible. So lyrics, Kate Bush lyrics in new book, How to Be Invisible. What were you gonna say?
Well,
I'm not seeing it. If you got it, then go ahead.
I got it. I'm gonna quote it. How to Be Invisible by Kate Bush. I found a book on how to be invisible. Take a pinch of keyhole and fold yourself up. You cut along the dotted lines. You think inside out and you're invisible. Eye of braille, hem of anorak, stem of wallflower, hair of doormat. I found a book on how to be invisible on the edge of the labyrinth, under a veil you must never lift, pages you must never turn in the labyrinth. You stand in front of 1,000,000 doors, and each one holds 1,000,000 more, corridors that lead to the world of the invisible, corridors that twist and turn, corridors that blister and burn, eye of braille, hem of anorak, stem of wallflower, hair of doormat. Is that the wind from the desert song? Is that the autumn leaf falling? Or is that you walking home? Is that the wind from the desert song? Is that an autumn leaf falling? Or is that you walking home? Is that a storm in the swimming pool? You take a pinch of keyhole and you fold yourself up. You cut along the dotted line. You think inside out. You jump round 3 times. You jump into the mirror and you're invisible. Unless there's something more to this song, I think it's probably just a song about maybe social anxiety, shyness, somebody who's sort of outside of the crowd, or maybe even a song about the general, like most people feel misunderstood and alone, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Kate Bush usually taps into much more general human pain. So I think they might be interpreting this as specifically Kate Bush is getting old and she's singing a song about being invisible.
You mean feminists sometimes co-opt other women's words to make it about them? That's unheard of.
It's impossible.
It's improbable. Okay. So yeah, I guess they might be trying to attribute that. The actress whose roles dry up, the widows left off guest lists, bar presence, network, social interactions diminished. The female invisibility cloak falls heaviest on those most used to being looked at, as well as, or instead of, listened to. So essentially saying, oh, we only looked at her. We didn't treat her like a human being. Oh, boo-hoo. And the time before it smothers you.
Wait. As well as, instead of listened to? What?
So let me read the sentence again so that you understand. The female invisibility cloak falls heaviest on those most used to being looked at, as well as, or instead of, listened to. So she could have phrased this better, but essentially she's saying that women who are accustomed to being, yeah.
Poverty is worse for the rich. You know,
yeah.
Right? Labor is worse for the nobles. Poor nobles. People who used to be astoundingly beautiful to the point where they could get millions just for sitting on a chair, they really hurt when they no longer can do that. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, really, who gives a fuck? You were beautiful, you made money, you got a rock star husband. If you like that sort of thing, you did it. You were it. You hit the target. And now you can no longer hit the target. It's no longer your turn. It is what I found astounding when you read some of these tweets is when we found out that she was 20 years younger than her husband when she married him. 20 years. Okay? And her complaint is that men at parties are looking at women 20 years younger than they are.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so you had your turn on the Ferris wheel. You had your turn on the carousel. You had your turn, and now you want another turn. You don't want to make way for the 20 years younger girls that you were. So essentially, she is complaining about her younger self. Did she not, when she was 26, did she not look around and, oh, there are 56-year-old women. Maybe you should go hit on her. What was her husband's name?
Nick. Just say Nick.
Nick, you should go find a woman your own age. No. She pounced on his money like nobody's business. And I don't know if he was good looking. Well, he was a rock star. He's
Nick,
famous.
The guy from the Cars? No.
Yeah. Okay.
But he looks like a mummified Alice Cooper, but he's the lead singer from the Cars, which means who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
On his money and fame. Okay? Did she have any consideration for the women his age that he should be dating? That she didn't say that when she stood to benefit. She wasn't telling Nick, "Oh wait, maybe you should date women your own age." Don't pass me by. Go find yourself a 40-year-old. You know. No,
Yep.
she didn't do that. No, she took her turn at the slot machine, won big, and now she's like, no, I don't want to leave the slot machine. It's still seniors hours, god damn it. And it's like, who are you really upset at here? Is it really men? Really? Seems like it's more like you're upset at the women who are now able to take that turn on the carousel that you have to. Well, if you were some kind of human being, you just gracefully realize it's their turn now. They're young. Enjoy.
Yep.
Or maybe I actually feel sorry for them a little, because considering what they're going to inherit, the mess that's being generated in the world. Anyway, continue. Brian.
No, it's okay. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna keep going. The female invisibility club fall. Yeah, right. Okay, and the time before it smothers you speeds up with every child you have. People between 50 and 80 report feeling. No, you're talking about women, probably. But let's see. People between 50 and 80 report feeling 10 years younger than their chronological age, says Nancy Pachana, 56, professor of psychology at the University of Queensland and co-director of its Aging Mind Initiative. So you might easily feel 40, but it's as though you no longer exist. Yeah, but how do you know you feel younger than the age you are when you've never been older than that? I don't understand that study. How do you get that result? How do people know when they're 80 that they feel 10 years younger? If you feel 10 years younger at 80, then doesn't that just mean you don't know what 80 feels like? I don't know. It's a slow. Go ahead.
It's a slow go. Oh, you were quoting the article. I just looked up. I regret the title. I regret leaving my husband of 20 years. I haven't found anything. I regret. Actually, that wasn't what I searched for. I regret being married to my husband for 20 years. How come there are no articles like that? I regret being married to my husband for 20 years. I regret being our 20-year marriage that's ongoing. I regret our 30-year marriage that's ongoing. I regret our 50-year. Women who are in those relationships don't seem to be on Medium writing articles like that. I mean, sometimes they get on and they're like, I'm leaving my husband, we're getting a divorce, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about women who've stayed married to the same man for 20, 30, 50 years, writing articles about how they regret it. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Does this not say, like, if you're like a random 20-something-year-old girl tuning into this, which I guess might be possible, does that not say something to you? This 56-year-old woman is complaining that she's invisible now that she's 56 and she's a model, okay? And there's plenty of other women who are complaining about how they don't have a man or they're single at 50 or 40. And also you can tell, even though they try not to present it, the very fact that they're complaining about their situation suggests that they resent it. But you don't see articles like, I've been married to my husband for 50 years and I regret it. I haven't seen one.
Yep.
I haven't seen. It doesn't happen because women like that, guess what? They're doing something with their life, even if it is maintaining a healthy, happy relationship with a man. And this woman is not doing anything with her life. That's why she's complaining about it. She's nothing in it. So if you're a 20-something-year-old woman tuning in to find out what this thing that she hates is, okay, and we will say it at the end, consider who is complaining about their life, who is resentful about their life. It is the 40, 50-year-old women who don't have a 20, 30-year-old relationship under their belt. The ones with a 20, 30-year-old relationship under their belt, they aren't bothering to complain because they probably do have complaints, because every human being has complaints.
Yeah.
But they have more in their life than complaints. So if you want a life in which you don't have more in your life but complaints, more than complaints, it's just basically a bucket of complaints, then pursue. Model yourself after these women. And then you too shall end up at 50 and 40, and your life is basically a container for complaints. Instead of having complaints, you are complaints. I mean, practice some self-preservation. If you're in your 20s, you're a young woman in your 20s, practice some self-preservation. Look at the women who are actually happy with their lot. And often you can tell because they like men. They're not offloading their toxic self-hatred onto men. They're not complaining about men. They don't have to because they don't hate themselves and they don't hate their choices. They don't have to blame those choices on men. They can actually say, hey, my choices were actually pretty good. I got a pretty good life out of it. I'm happy with this. I don't have to blame men for where I'm at. And then you find those women and do what they do. Do not do what this does, that this individual does. I mean, she didn't even end up in his will.
Yes.
God. That's a burn right there.
That's telling, right? Like, he's like, I mean, he was gonna die. Like, none of this would have mattered. And he still, that is, you could taste the spite. It's very like a jalapeno. Okay, so I did get a big super chat, and also Allison, Great Endor says he sent one through PayPal. I think he sent you something through PayPal.
Michael O says a reminder that Paulina is also the woman starring in the video "Drive" by the Cars. Rick Osiak.
Yeah, just the guy from the Cars. Ocasek.
The guy from Rick Ocasek's band, which features the following lyrics. Who's going to tell you when it's too late? You can't go on thinking nothing's wrong.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Okay. So Dean Domino gives us 1999 and says, always get annoyed when incels get equated with femcels as just as entitled. Think even the most over-ambitious, hold on a second. Over-ambitious can be talked down, but with femcels, you can't convince a Mama June she isn't owed a Brad Pitt. Yes, that is true. And I agree, it's a big difference because what do we tell women and what do we tell men about, about their entitlement? Well, we don't say anything to women about entitlement. We encourage that attitude. And men, we do the opposite. We discourage. We tell them that they're not entitled to anything. They're not entitled to a woman being nice to them. They're not entitled to a woman saying thank you to them if they pull them out of the snow, right? And that's I think that's the reason for it. And by the way, when women do that to men, even men who have absolutely no interest in them sexually, but it makes them feel like they're predatory. It makes them feel creepy. And men that are very sensitive to that, I think, to being made to feel creepy, because that means that the woman is disapproving of him socially, which puts him on the outside of her favor, which is a place that men don't want to be, even with women that they don't actually want anything from. Maybe they just want them to be gracious. Maybe they just want them to be thankful. But if they don't do that and they act like they're entitled to that, and that those men don't deserve to be spoken to in a polite way or with kindness, then those men are going to feel as though there's something wrong with them and not something wrong with her. So,
how far are we into this?
I'm not going to read the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to read some of the quotes. So people already read that one. It's a slow fade, agrees Porizkova. Like the boiled frog. You don't know until you're gone. It was around the same time my marriage fell apart. My husband was no longer interested in me, and as I started looking around, I realized I was invisible to the population at large. It made me feel really terrible about myself. What are you gonna say, Allison?
Okay, so she attracts this man probably based almost solely on her looks and her youth. She's 20 years younger than him. And assuming that this is true, and this is actually why it broke up, which, I don't know, like, the fact that he cuts her sons out of the will, a little strange. But the fact that this is what she did, she leveraged her youth and beauty into a relationship with a rock star, a multi-million-dollar rock star. And then when she doesn't have either, he sort of is like, yeah, maybe I'll go find another one. Yeah, well, you sold what you sold, and then he no longer had it, and then your buyer decided they wanted a different provider.
Yep.
Okay, those are the terms that you abided by. Like this, there seems to be like a continuous theme in this. She makes decisions about her life and does not want to live the negative consequences of those decisions.
Yeah.
You know,
She,
that's just.
I was just going to say, she wants to convince us that what happened to her has nothing to do with her decisions. But if you were a groupie or if you were dating a rock star, even if the guy Rick, even if he or I'm sorry, is it Rick? No, but whatever, Nick or Rick, I don't know, it's one of those. Even if okay, he did you dirty. The problem is that you seem to you got involved with someone 20 plus years older than you because of his status, because of his fame, and you basically like wanted to keep that. And sometimes, as it turns out, some of the most, high status, rich, powerful men, they are going to just run through women because they have so many of them, approaching them. They have access. So I'm not saying it's right, but what did you expect? If that's true, like you didn't, well, no, I'm saying you should have gotten to know what kind of person this is. Is he sexually promiscuous? Did you believe you could change him if that was the case?
Well, she said, somebody says she accused him of cheating, but that he didn't.
Well, okay. So again,
yeah, we don't know. We can't really know what happened there.
No, we can't really know.
The point is, even if he did, she leveraged her youth and beauty to get him in the first place.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen when you lose that?
Yeah, exactly.
And you apparently didn't cultivate any kind of wisdom or self-awareness or recognition of the consequences of your actions. You didn't cultivate any virtues. So what the hell else is he going to be with you for? Like, if he actually judged women based on their virtues and their self-awareness or any other quality besides youth and beauty, you would have been shit out of luck in the first place. Mr. Rick, whatever, would have just passed you over. Like that, I don't get what these women are on. Like these women who are they're attractive and they get a partner. They use their looks and their youth to get a partner who gets them because they're beautiful and young, and then they age out of it because you do, okay, and then their partner looks for someone else. Well, that you were a supply of what he wanted. Now you're not. Like,
yeah, exactly.
And the frank and honest truth of the matter is, if Rick had looked, if this is the type of man he is, if he had looked for virtues, you couldn't have been a candidate at all. If he looked for any skills or abilities beyond looking good, he wouldn't be a candidate at all. So count your blessings. You had a man, you had a rich man who just wanted a petulant, unskilled idiot with no virtues, but just look good. And you got elevated for 20 years. You got attention and interest from men for 20 years. And then you stopped having what men wanted and they stopped giving you attention. Well, be happy that you got that. Yeah. And fuck off. Fuck off into the night. Because you have nothing else to give anyone. And the only thing you have to give men is hatred and blame. And the only thing you have to give women is really bad life advice. Like really bad.
Yeah,
like anyone
really
who's listening to this and you are in a position to be still making decisions about your life, because I think most of the women who listen to us are probably already married and in multi-decade relationships. But if you're not, and you're still in a position to be building the foundation of your future life, do not do what this woman does. Do not listen to what she says. Because again, your life will become a container of complaints. Rather than having a complaint, you will become entirely comprised of complaints and resentment and bitterness. Instead of enjoying, a pina colada in your backyard with your husband of 30 years, as you just, reminisce about all the adventures you've had, you'll be on Medium writing bitchy articles about how I don't need no man and why don't they want me anymore? Like, decide, choose. And I can tell you the difference. The difference is simple. Do you like men? And if you don't like men, can you either choose another gender to date, or can you extricate the bullshit in your head that makes you dislike them and blame them? And if you can do that, then go after men. If you can't do that, get another gender. Go get married for 30 years to someone who's puce gendered or whatever. Okay?
Puce gendered, yes. Well, I think this is actually, at least in this particular aspect, this is a teachable moment for women, because there are, this is there is a risk that comes with only pursuing the top 1% of men. And that is that you could get burned by that top 1% of men, because they can afford to do that. And especially if you're going after men that are much older than you should be asking yourself, other than my sex appeal, what do I have to offer? So if it's only your sex appeal, then you need to think about the fact that when that expires, when he gets bored, or if he just feels like cheating on you, which again, I'm not saying I'm for that, I'm not, but the fact is, if you fuck around with these guys that are at the top of their game and they're just raking in pussy, then they're probably not going to think much of you. So you're going to have to a lot of women really need to ground themselves in reality. They need to have standards that make sense, and they need to figure out what it is they want. If they just want to run around and live like they're in their 20s for their whole life, and you know what the consequences of that is, then you go ahead and do that, but don't say that no one warned you. But if you're actually a woman that wants, a good man and a stable marriage and a family, you probably shouldn't be chasing rock stars and billionaires and CEOs.
And also, you should kick out feminism. Seriously, just kick it to the curb. Just no pass go. Just kick all of those thoughts out, all of them. I don't mean equality. God's sake, I don't when we're talking about the stuff about actually owning your choices and being strong and independent and speaking your mind, that's fine, but that isn't feminism. Okay.
Yeah.
That's feminism saying that's what we are. That's the sales pitch, when the actual, the sales pitch is fine Belgian chocolate. The actual product is a lump of shit in tinfoil. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So the sales pitch for feminists is, you'll be a strong, independent woman with a personality and you'll be able to speak. No, you're just going to be a bitch who blames men for everything that she's done to her own life. So kick it to the curb. You want to have a happy relationship with a man. Hell, you can have a happy relationship. I'm proof of this. You can be a goddamn harridan and have a happy relationship. I don't even know how I did that. But anyway, that's that can happen for you as long as you actually like men. I'm a fucking loudmouth bitch. I don't even know why Jonathan likes me. But anyway, I think we're happy. He seems happy. He Brian has
I don't know. I don't know. But okay. So I think we got the general gist of the article. So I'm not going to delve into it too much more. I mean, it goes into essentially blaming men for this super rich, famous, still good looking for her age woman. And she made on Twitter, there was a response from Gad Sad. And I don't follow him very closely usually, but I like this. So he says, "Dear at Paulina Porizkova, you are hardly invisible." I mean, for 56, she looks good, right? But the fact that you do not have the same pull for some men is to be expected. I'm sure that innumerable men have been invisible to you as they approached you in your life. It's called reality. Dynamics change through life stages. So, and he hit the nail on the head as far as I'm concerned, because she isn't mad that men don't see her. She's mad that the men she wants to notice her don't notice her. Do you understand? That she probably got approached by men who she deemed inferior for her whole life, like from the moment she became sexually active or, interested in boys or whatever. There were boys who were not at the level that she thinks they should be that approached her. And, maybe they didn't even, all they had was their opening line. And she was like, none of these men are good enough. And I can guarantee it based on how she treated Gad Saad's comment that this is the case. So she's a beautiful supermodel from the 80s, got approached by guys. She didn't want those guys. She wants the top 1%. She wants rock stars. She wants the best of the best men. Okay. That's what she's aiming at. And that's the reason why she treats 99% of men as invisible, while also complaining that she is invisible.
But she isn't.
No, she's not.
She's just not visible to the men that want to use their wealth and fame to get a woman who's 20 years younger than them. Maybe she should date 70-year-olds. 76-year-olds. There you go. What she already did. Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, I guess the 70s. No, this doesn't work. Okay. Well, I actually went and asked Jonathan. I told him about the situation. I said, yeah, I said, I think we're happy. I didn't want to speak for him. And he's like, and I said, are you happy? He said, yeah, I'm happy. And I'm like, really, with me? And he's like, yeah, I'm realistic.
Well, I mean,
what?
No, I think that's a fair way to phrase it. Like, I mean, do you want him to pretend that,
you're in
the Garden of Eden? No, I know. I'm just saying for anyone that might, find that to be self-deprecating in some way.
No, I think it's fucking hilarious. It's adorable. I'm realistic. Okay.
There you go. I live on planet Earth. But yeah, I mean, anyway, it should be obvious. So here's her response to Gad Saad. Sounds like you speak from experience. I guess the hot babes weren't interested in you, huh? So immediately.
How is he not? Like, he's Gad Saad. But what is Gad Saad, like a real rock star player? Or is he like just married?
Well, he is married, so he's not really looking for approval from women. And I think that's what bothers her too, by the way, because she's trying to say, I disapprove of you. And because I'm Paulina Porizkova, I can do that. And men, they will crumble if I point to them and say, you are a monster. You are a chud. You are unworthy of my attention. And she probably did do that. And I bet she enjoyed it sometimes. But when she tried to do it to Gad Saad, it's water off of a duck's back, because he's like, well, I have a wife and I love her. So you can't hurt me. You're the one that's alone. You're the one that's like depressed because men don't see you anymore. Gad Saad's got what he wants, and he's not exactly a low status dude either. So
yeah, looks like he's just he has a wife and he's married to her. It looks like it's been a while.
Yeah.
So I think that there's no point saying, "Oh, hot babes didn't like." I think that he probably just wanted, he married. He's got a wife. She's not like a super hot babe. She's just sort of what you would expect a professor's wife to look like.
Sure.
She's not unattractive, but
yeah, but she's probably also far more interesting to sit down and talk to than this woman is, right? I mean, that's another thing too. Like, when you get older, you're just you gotta be with this person. Like, there should be something more to them. And so, Gad Saad probably he loves his wife. He said so on many occasions. And to him, she is beautiful. So again, people like this, they don't get that. So he said in response to her, "This is an unbecoming response of a serious adult. You are stuck in your irreverent, sassy, narcissistic teenage years, but your birth certificate says otherwise. Stay classy. Oh, by the way, my wife is very beautiful on the inside and outside. Be well."
Yeah,
And
here you go. Here you go.
what?
Look, here's a woman who isn't writing this article. There you go. I sent you a picture.
All right. Is that what is
Yeah,
it? A picture?
she just looks like an older Lebanese woman.
Oh, okay.
It looks like
Here
what
we go.
she is, which is, that's realistic.
That's Gad Sad's family. And his wife right there in front. She does look good for her age. And their kids. This one adopted? Her hair's kind of nappy. But I'm just, yeah, but that's like, again, you have to choose. Let's say you have to choose, gun to your head. This woman, or a woman a lot like her, or Paulina Porizkova, based on what she has said. Like, seriously, this woman is a child, and she hasn't grown up. She's in a state of adolescence. She still acts like, she's not even acting like a 20-year-old woman. She's acting like an 11-year-old, because if you listen to her insults, where she says, for example, let me see if I got one. She like accuses some guy of mansplaining. Yeah, so this guy named John Doe, he says, "I can't even begin to imagine why this would be the case. If only there were some branch of biology that could explain such behavior. If only there was some way to make sense of all this. I guess it will all just stay a mystery forever," and includes a photo or an image of an empty egg carton. And I mean, we know that joke, but Paulina Porizkova says, "Mansplaining is totally my favorite, especially when accompanied by obvious pictures, so my poor little female brain can take it all in." She's so mad.
I wonder if this is like a sales pitch to a certain group of women, though. Like, this is just like, who knows? Is she selling a book, perhaps?
I think that she's working on a book, but it's not done.
Oh my God.
Yet. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
a sales pitch for a book, probably. She wants to get back in the public eye because she wants to sell a memoir of her and Nick, Oscar Cars guy, whatever his name is. Sorry, I cannot remember names.
It's all right. Guy from the Cars.
The guy from the Cars. Yeah, she's probably wants to sell some sort of memoir about her life with the guy from the Cars, since that's basically the pinnacle of her life. There you go.
Yeah. Okasic.
Attracted Okasic's dick.
Well, there. Yeah, that's true. But it is sad. And this is the thing. And I thought this was interesting because I'm seeing this more and more. I'm seeing more and more women who are getting older and they're not coping with it very well. And they're not just like, former like supermodel beautiful women like Paulina, even though she is a pretty interesting case because she was like the shit and now she's just another angry person on Twitter, mad because the men that she wants attention from aren't giving it to her, while she also treats the rest of men, like over 99% of men, as invisible. And when those men, by the way, even when they kiss her ass, so there was a guy in here, see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find, there was somebody who said, "I would date you in a minute." And then some red pill dude responded to him and said, "Yeah, but she wouldn't date you. That's the issue." Like, she doesn't have humility. She basically feels entitled to certain men, and she doesn't think it's fair that those men have their own opinions. And as she gets older, that's only going to get worse. So it's almost like, ladies, while you're young and attractive and fertile, don't waste your life. I mean, I'm not telling you what you have to do, but I'm saying that you need to start thinking about what you want and make sure, and that way you don't end up like this person, because this woman is like one of the most, probably would be considered to be, by even the standards of her own age, one of the most beautiful women on earth in terms of her attractiveness, but it's not getting her anywhere. She's alone. She's alone and bitter and angry. And you wonder, well, what's keeping her alone? I thought men just, and this is another thing, this goes back to men, by the way, Allison. There's some assumption that if the woman is sexually stimulating, men can't resist. But apparently they do. I mean, even a woman her age, you know, like there are probably plenty of men that are like, nah, that's okay. She seems like a cunt.
I guess this is getting into the real reason. I think what's happened, the real reason, and probably, I don't know if I can say it yet, or how much more of the article is it?
Oh, there's a lot to it, but I stopped reading it.
Yeah,
because it's long and it just keeps going and going and going.
And don't malign Kate Bush. I won't believe that she wrote this in any vein similar to what this woman is talking about until she actually comes out and says it.
Yeah.
Because it sounds more like it's about social anxiety or the general feeling that a lot of people have that they just don't belong than it is about specifically Kate Bush getting old and invisible. So I'm pretty sure she has a family. Okay, so what is the real reason that she's being rejected? And the real reason that she likely hates, because you know what? I don't think she hates it when they say, oh, you're being rejected because you're old, or you don't have any eggs in the carton anymore. And I actually honestly don't think that's true. The men who are sending that through, you know, they're getting a jab in, but it's not actually true. Because the guys who are saying, oh, I would date you anyway, well, they would.
Yeah, sure.
But then somebody says, but she wouldn't date you, and that's the point. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the real reason she's not getting a date, well, specifically because she's a bitch, but the real reason that she's not getting a date is because she's aged out. Like, she's literally aged out of the market for men who are in it only for youth and beauty. Okay, so she's no longer able to offer those things. And she has nothing else to offer. And she's now in a population of men. She now has to appeal to a population of men who are not going to look past her personal flaws, her inability to take responsibility or see her own personal agency in her life, or in it her lack of any kind of virtues or self-development, or likely any creative or interesting skills or ability to talk, her lack of any kind of real personality. She has aged out of the group of men who are going to see past all of that and just be like, yeah, she's cute and young.
Mm-hmm.
I can fuck her. Okay. So she now has to appeal to men who want more or something different than someone being young and attractive. And that's a simple fact.
Yep.
She now has to, and I wish somebody had told her that. No, don't talk about her heart and eggs dry, or she carton's empty, or you know, she's just old, she's aged out. Tell her what the actual problem is. Paulina, your personality is shit, which really unfortunate for you, because that's going to be your only companion as you age. You know, your personality. so you're really out of luck.
There is one other phenomenon that I noticed that I thought I would briefly comment on Twitter after the whole thing with her and Gadsad and all of his fans and all of her fans fighting and shit. She made a separate tweet where she said, I'd like to thank all the men who are now on my feed telling me I should be invisible at my age, that I should be invisible at my age. You're proving my point. Of course, she doesn't obviously get the point.
No.
But
you should be invisible because you have two selling points, or you did, and they're now gone. And you're in a market where the buyers are significantly different. You know, the buyers of mature women want someone who is mature. Period.
Yes.
And you are a child.
Yeah. But what the other interesting thing is that the bulk of the responses to her are obviously supportive. And the bulk of the supportive responses are men who are saying, "Oh, I would date you," so that she would feel better about herself. And I'll give you an example. There was a guy who said, "I would date you in a heartbeat. Don't let those trolls tear you down." And then a woman responds to him saying, "She doesn't need to be hit on right now. That wasn't her point. She wasn't asking for penises to come to her aid. Jesus Christ." Right? And so you get that.
Wait,
and
what?
Huh?
Wait, wasn't she just complaining about the fact that she's not getting attention from the penis people anymore? And you hear the penis people saying, "I'd give you attention." But waiter, there's a fly in my soup. Okay, well, let me put you a new soup. No, I want the fly. I appreciate it. What?
I'm just gonna quarantine it to this corner of the bowl.
Yeah. Like, I want it to blow, but if you address it, you're wrong. You're anti-fly. Jesus Christ.
Exactly. But people are, so there are men simping for her, and then there are women telling the men to shut up and go in the corner, and then there are other women who are older that are all praising her because they're all old too. So there's a whole bunch of old bitches that also feel invisible because they also made the same mistakes. They treated men like shit. They're alone. They're old, or whatever, or they're just cunts because, like, at any age, I think a woman can probably find, companionship. But the men, as they get older, they listen to their penis less, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
They mature. The men mature and they leave the women behind. And then women like this are like, "Well, wait, I'm not attracting the men. In fact, I'm not even attracting any men." Well, because you've moved from a pool of men younger men, or men who are famous and want a trophy. You've moved from that pool of potential suitors to a pool of potential suitors in which your maturity counts for a fuck ton more, and you don't have it. So they're like, "Yeah, pass."
Yeah.
That's what's happened, because I guarantee a woman like that, okay, a woman like that would get older men's attention. Guaranteed.
Sure. Absolutely.
100%. But I'm guessing that they're old enough and mature enough now that they can see the telltale signs of a narcissistic bitch. And they're like, "You know what? I'm not as compelled by my penis anymore. So I'll just move along.
My penis is not happy with this. So I think I'm going to listen to it."
Goodbye. And it's like, that's what's happened. She's gone from a pool where looks and beauty are predominant, and she's gone to a pool where maturity is becoming more important. Because these guys they're not going to date a 56-year-old to have a child, right? They're not going to date them to have a child. They're going to date one to have a fucking companion.
Yep.
And what you expect from a companion is very different than what you expect from a trophy, or even a younger woman who can have children. Okay? What you expect from a companion is somebody who's going to be entertaining, fun to be around, not an asshole. So I'm actually thinking older men are judging women more by the standards they would judge their friends by. And she's not measuring up. And she's finding that her beauty is not sufficient anymore to keep men's interest, shall we say.
Yeah. Yeah, so what you get is a bunch of older women that want to chime in and essentially support her, because it's actually a conversation around ageism, and I'm not kidding.
This is not ageism. This is literally women who skated by on their looks, never developed any maturity, and then are suddenly thrust into a dating pool in which maturity has more value, and they're finding themselves fucked. Okay, it's not like, I know a lot of guys are like, "Oh yeah, the wall," but women even past the wall can find a partner if they're reasonably decent. But if they're not, they don't, or they don't stay. The end.
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, the ageism thing is not something I agree with in principle. It's just the way that they are framing it. So they're calling this ageism, but the thing is that there is no version of ageism that I've seen that applies to men. So it's not really about that. It is about what you're saying it is, but they're making it about this other thing. So a bunch of older women who are also alone, or maybe they just feel insecure about their appearance or whatever, they're chiming in support of her, including older celebrity women that have responded, like Patricia Arquette. So, but it's just, you basically summed it up. I mean, the issue with Paulina is her attitude. It's her personality. It's not really anything else. And yet, because I guess observing your own personality and like how you treat people, especially how you treat men, would be something that you would have to like observe, understand, and then change, assuming you want to, even just make friends with men. But that would require you to not be an accidental supermodel, but an intentional one, right? So I don't know. I thought it was an interesting thing to talk about. I just find it a little bit fascinating. I don't know if you have any final thoughts on that, but
I gave my final thoughts. I think the real reason why I think she's fine with you're not getting dates because of something that's outside of her. Yeah, because that's something outside of her control. She can't change the fact that she's old. So she can deflect the actual problem onto something that, she can say, well, I'm being persecuted. No, you're not. You aged out of the dating pool in which looks and beauty gets you everything you want, or at least gets you the attention of men who are looking for a trophy wife. You've aged out of that dating pool, and now you have to contend in a dating pool of men who prefer decency or are looking at you in terms of being a companion in their twilight years, and they're looking at you and they're saying, I don't need that pain in the ass. I already have a pain in the ass. I already got hemorrhoids. I don't need a blonde Russian one. So they're just like passing you by, and you're probably left with the guys who are still in their 50s willing to overlook your personality for the fact that you're hot, objectively hot. Okay. And they are probably not the cream of the crop because for various reasons, guys who don't mature out of that stage generally aren't the cream of the crop of guys. Okay. Because there's some issues that they're dealing with. But, you continue to take comfort in the idea that the problem is something you have no control over. So I think that's what she ultimately wants. She ultimately wants to hold that the situation she's in, she has no control over because men are bad. And she, instead of attracting men, can now judge them and feel good that way about herself.
Yep.
Well, it's not. Like, this is the real thing that she'd hate. This is not out of your control. This is entirely within your control, or it would have been if you put yourself on a better path, a path of maturity, of service to others, of being a decent human being before you got to this state. Now you're probably screwed, most particularly because you're never going to admit that you have to do anything or change anything. But, that's the real answer to why she isn't getting a date that she'd hate. It's because she doesn't deserve one.
Yeah, it's true. And she's not able to face that reality. All right, I got some super chats, and I guess we could wrap it up. So let's see. Hoki Bukisa gives us $10 and says, the sexy entitlement that women are so paranoid, it's embarrassingly obvious projection. Thank you for that, Hoki. ST007 gives us $5 Australian and says the issue is cultural. These Slavic girls are taught that they are flowers and men are manure, and that fertilizes the flowers. It's spicy. Thank you for that. Exploding Prinny gives us $5. Thanks, dude, and says Paulina's Twitter responses reinforce that she hasn't learned anything from this. Yes, that's true. That's kind of like the problem too, right? Because people like this, they go to Twitter or they go to Instagram and then they complain, and it should expose to everyone how shitty their personality is, but they go there to complain to their fans, who essentially feed back to her the fact that she has every right to be the way that she is. Nothing needs to change. She's just fine the way that she is, and it's all the fault of the haters or men or whatever. And so she learns nothing, and then just things keep going. And the followers, they get to feel good about having played a role in, I guess, her feeling better about herself. Except, of course, for the men who say they want to date her, or they would, because those men are going to get shamed out of existence by the women who are following her that, for whatever reason, don't like that those men are giving her attention. So, William Thomas gives us $5 Australian and says, some cash for the heating bill. Keep it going and stay realistic. Thank you, Thomas. All right. Does anybody else have... Well,
put into your final super chats, guys, and we'll take it out. Any final thoughts on this? Like I said, she just wants to be a victim of something. She wants to be a victim of something outside of her control.
Yeah.
She's gotten into that stage. I mean, it seems like women in the public eye now go through, I don't know, 3 stages. 1, young, enjoying all the attention, reaping in the rewards of that attention. 2, hitting the wall. 3, complaining about being objectified and how they're a victim of their life.
I have noticed that these women do become feminists later in life. The other thing that I said, I think I'd like us to go through, maybe we'll do it on Wednesday, I don't know. It was a video from the Great Game Developers Conference, and this is relevant because I'm going to mention an old celebrity, where they were talking about masculinity in video games. And this is recent. This came out like a week ago. And Gina Davis, who used to be Gina Davis, if you guys don't know, she was in The Fly. She was in League of Their Own, a bunch of other stuff. She used to be like, a sex symbol from Hollywood back in the day. But now that she's a lot older, she's been basically like taking up the what would you call it, leading the charge of putting feminism in everything. So now this one is about video games and masculinity, and I've watched the whole thing, and it is very cancerous. So it could be something we look at, but this could be the 3rd stage, like a woman who was beautiful and young and attracted men when she was, early in her career or whatever. And then when she's no longer the phone doesn't ring anymore, she's no longer getting work, they become embittered and they blame patriarchy for it, even though it's probably either the fact that Hollywood can't find a use for them anymore because they only intended on using them for their looks and their youth, or they don't actually have any talent. I mean, she was in a really big flop called Cutthroat Island, and she never got work since, I don't think. So, but yeah, so she's going to tell us, guys, what's wrong with us in the video game hobby, while also claiming to be like a big hardcore gamer that has like a high score in Candy Crush. Not a joke. She actually said that. She said Candy Crush in 2022. So
I don't even know what that game is. Like I'm not really a gamer, to be honest.
No.
So I suspect Crush isn't a very respectable game.
No, it's a mobile game. I mean, it's a game like Words with Friends, but it's that doesn't mean that it's on the same level as fucking, Modern Warfare 2 or something, Black Ops. But I mean, it's a game. But when you try to use that, like, oh, I play Candy Crush or I play, Words with Friends. So therefore, I should be speaking about how the entire industry needs to be reshaped to fit my sensibilities. That's when I have a problem. I don't care if people call themselves gamers or not, or the depth of their interest in the hobby. People could play whatever, as much or as little as they want, but I don't really care how much you play either. But just don't come in here and tell me what I should be doing. That's when we're gonna have a problem. So anyway, go ahead.
Speaking about like older actresses, someone said we should look up Christy Brinkley and compare it to her. But there is this actress, she's a British actress that I saw in a film that was about bombing. It was a really interesting film. It was about doing a drone strike in I think Afghanistan against a female jihadi actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really interesting story, and this British actress was the one who played the person who decided to go ahead with the drone strike because this female jihadi was like, well, first of all, she was a former British citizen, but she was also like in the thick of a lot of different violent actions against the
Yeah.
West. It was a really interesting story, but the reason why I bring her up, and I do not know her name, I should know her name. I thought it was Judi Dench, but I don't think so. Is because when I watch her act and the way that she moves, like physically moves, is beautiful. Like I don't know how to describe it, but she has such an incredible physical grace, even though I
Yeah.
think she's in the 60s, that it itself makes her attractive. Like
Mm.
it seems to make her physically attractive. And maybe that's just me, but just to have that amount of poise and not just like a almost like a gentle poise that it was really quite astounding. I was like thinking about that, and does this woman have that? Did she cultivate that? I imagine physically cultivating that must be difficult. But so that I just wanted to bring that up as something that another way that older women could actually retain their attractiveness is to have that physical poise, which
Yeah.
I actually honestly have never seen in younger Western actresses.
Yeah.
And it seems like it was like an old screen thing, like old time classic kind of thing. Anyway, I continue. Like let's
No, that's it.
yeah.
But yeah, we could wrap it up. So I got nothing else to add.
Yeah,
Um,
like I don't play Candy Crush. I don't understand what it is, but I
it's
do
like
play.
it's like Tetris. You match color
Oh, I like
icons that
Tetris.
represent candy. Yeah, no,
Helen Mirren. Yeah,
it's like
Helen Mirren.
sorting.
Thank you, Pussy Boy. It's Helen
Helen,
Mirren.
yeah, Helen Mirren. I know who she is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
was thinking like that is like the way that she moves, and maybe it's just me, but the way that she moves is so attractive, and I don't see it among younger actresses.
well,
She's
see, Helen Mirren is a good example of a really good actress because most of the time, like the reason I think a lot of the time actresses don't tend to grow old in Hollywood. I mean, there are plenty that do, but there's a lot that don't. I think the reason is because they were kind of a flash in the pan. Like they were, brought on because they were young and attractive. And then, but maybe they weren't particularly talented. I'm doing as a patron show tomorrow. Megan Fox she's no longer getting work. The phone doesn't ring, right? So she's mad at men and Hollywood and all this. But the fact is, Megan Fox knew, she had to know that she was only getting work because she was hot, but not because she was particularly good at acting. But Helen Mirren's been doing this since when she was young and attractive, she was getting work, but she continued to get work all the way through to her senior years, which is what she's doing now. And there's plenty of other female actresses that have done it too. It just comes down to, are they talented enough to like withstand or endure, their later years when people want to see them continue to do performances or whatever, or are they basically out of gas? And
yeah, but
and a lot of the times they are.
Well, look
What are
at
you gonna say?
Helen Mirren when she was younger. I mean,
Yeah,
she's
I'm gonna
not
put it up on this.
unattractive.
No, no.
She's not unattractive, but she's certainly not classically beautiful, and yet she's still how the hell did she manage to get more attractive? That's interesting.
Well,
Um,
here, I'll display it, guys. But like I said, she had a but she's got a look.
yeah,
Guys totally get into that. She's got a look. So
yeah.
she looks very
Well,
British.
yeah, I know, but what I'm trying to get at is like even compared to Paulova or whatever, Paulina, she wasn't as classically attractive, shall we say?
Yeah.
Um, and yet she's doing better now at 80. I think it's 80.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, but she's also British actress. They do Hamlet for fucking shits and giggles over there. Like their standards are much higher for acting ability than ours. This is why Judi Dench, Kate Blanchett, I think that Tilda Swinton, who's, just she's amazing and she doesn't fit the mold easily. But I think that that's unusual because most of the time people who want to become famous Hollywood actors or actresses, they're riding on their looks more than anything. So that's why they only have a limited amount of time. And I think that also applies to men to some degree, although I think that men usually have to bring more to the table than their square jaw and broad shoulders.
Yeah, I swear to God, it's the way that Helen Mirren walks or moves. It's just like it's riveting. She's like
Yeah.
a cat, like the spirit of a cat poured into a woman. Anyway, I'll stop. I'll stop.
Okay. So
Gushing
stop gushing over that old woman.
Okay. All right.
Gilf.
Gilf, yeah. If you if you enjoy this content, she might actually. How old is she? Like, is she in her 80s now?
Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
Let me see. She probably is. She is 76, so not quite.
Not quite, but anyway. So if you enjoy this content, please go to feedthebadger.com. Throw a few shekels in the hat. You can either do a subscription, which will get you access to the after shows and patron shows, Bad Allison, and all of the additional content that we do, plus our patron Discord, which you can join us for after shows and chat with us and chat with each other. It's quite lovely. And once again, that's feedthebadger.com. And if you would like to support us for the monthly fundraiser, that's feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. And that goes to promote or to ensure that Brian, Prin, and Hannah are capable of continuing their work for the month. All right, that's it.
All right. Well, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, and share it. Please just share it with one person or just post it on social media and walk away, put it on your minds, whatever. Appreciate all the super chats you guys gave. It was kind of a lot this time. So thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode. I look forward to seeing your thoughts in the comments, and we'll talk to you guys in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.